Hello friends, this is Taylor Cope and I'm coming to you here from sunny Spring Lake, Michigan, where I'm spending the summer. And this is the first time I've done a video, so thanks very much for indulging me, and I will hopefully not make it too long or boring. But today we got a special treat. This is the Waterford Ratheadon 1.1. This is the inaugural release from Waterford Whiskey. Now, if you don't know about them, they are an Irish distillery, and they're doing things a bit differently. So under the leadership of Mark Renier, who was previously at the helm of the reinvigorated Bruichladdich, they are taking a very terroir-driven approach, trying to isolate single farms, barleys, and distill them individually, and go a very opposite direction from what the industry has done, which has been to downplay barley and the raw material ingredients in favor of things like casks. So I'm not going to say very much about it for a couple reasons. One is there's plenty of great information out there on the internet, not least of all at Waterford's own site, but also because there's been a lot of debate about this one, and it's for that reason that the team at Malt Review, which is where you'll normally find me, has decided that it's most wise to not be reviewing this whiskey or any Waterford whiskey for that matter, in the year 2020. It should also be noted that Mark Newton, who is one of the co-founders of Malt Review, is the communications leader for Waterford. So there's a bit of a conflict of interest on his side. Certainly not on mine. I've got no connection to Waterford or indeed any other Irish whiskey. It's an area where I'm more or less novice. So this is going to be a new experience for me, or a newer experience for me, because I don't really taste much Irish whiskey. I stick mostly to bourbon and Scotch, as you will be aware. So just going to give you some impressions of this. Nothing overly formal or fancy, but just kind of what I think. So this is a single farm whiskey. The barley was grown by Stephen and Andrew McDonnell on the Ratheadon farm. Just Mark informs me the correct pronunciation of that word. It's north of the distillery in County Carlow. They have the exact date of the harvest. So a cool thing about this is on the bottle there's a little code on the back, and if you type that into the site at Waterford, they will give you a lot of information and detail about exactly what went into the whiskey. But we have here a harvest that occurred on August 11th, 2015. They distilled this in 2016. It was aged for 3 years, 9 months, and 5 days. So this is a youngin. You know, I'm looking at this through the framework of maybe some of the startup craft distilleries here in the United States, like Peerless, or indeed Chichibu in Japan, which has made from wonderfully flavorful whiskey at a very young age. So they aged this for 3 years, 9 months, and 5 days, and then they bottled it in June 2020 in around of 2,000 bottles, and it's a strength of 50% ABV. So again, just kind of my thoughts and doing some tasting notes or opinions here. So you can see the color here. It's this kind of very pale, kind of weedy, almost a maizy color. Taking a sniff, this is very very barley driven. A lot of grain in there. It is it's lovely. It's lovely young spirit. This is something I like about the younger spirits. There's not all that influence of the wood and the cask and everything. You've got a lot more of the elemental aspect, and I think particularly given Waterford's emphasis on that aspect of the production process, there's a good fit there. So this is nice. I'm getting like a nice like a yeasty, almost a bready or a doughy kind of note. Yeah, some beautiful fruit flavors there. There's maybe like a really ripe peach. There's some green grapes in there as well. Yeah, but always just coming back to this barley, this very grain-driven note, which is great. So that's a promising start. You've got all of the elements you'd look for in a spirit that is this young and is again made with a focus on the raw materials. They're really shining through there. So this is a good start. I'm excited to taste this finally. Maybe there's even like a bit of raisin in there, like some golden raisins. This is almost too much fun to nose. It's one of those ones where you don't ever want to quit smelling it because it's just kind of goes on and on. There are some very subtly woody notes in there. There's I didn't see any note on the cask type when I typed that in. I presume it's ex-bourbon or what have you, but yeah, there's some woody notes. There's a little bit of earthiness. There's like a little sous-bois, maybe kind of like some kind of dry clods of earth in there. Yeah, definitely getting more of that raisin again, which is interesting because I tend to associate that more with the sherry cask. But Okay, so here goes nothing. I'm going to give this the very first sip. Just kind of put it to my lips here for a second. Kind of let it just sit there. This was a tasting technique I learned from Freddie Johnson from Buffalo Trace, and listening to Fred Minnick's great interview with him, where he talks about just having it kind of sit there on your lips, like not even swallowing it, just have it kind of. I'm getting like a hay or a barnyard note on this. This is just to start with. That's coming through more on the nose here. Horse farm. So that hope I won't offend anybody by saying that. I mean that in only the nicest way. Okay, I'm going to have my first proper sip of this here. I'll wet my whistle a little bit here, but. Okay. Yeah, kind of seeing where this is going. Again, just very, 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 I don't want to say clean necessarily, but like very pure. I'm getting, the mouthfeel is again very, you're tasting that barley throughout. It's really, really driven by the raw materials here. So I think everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. One of my weaknesses is the front of my palate. I feel like I probably get less on the lips and the tip of the tongue than other people do, and I don't know what that relates to necessarily. But there you have it. So it's entering very clean for me. I'm not gonna lie of everything, but all of a sudden when it's the kind of the center middle of the tongue, there's this great juicy kind of fruity burst there. The texture becomes very, very dry, almost a little bit astringent, like as it moves towards the center of the tongue, and kind of crescendos at the top of the tongue. Crescendo is a word I've been abusing too much recently in reviews, but going to use it again. Crescendo. So it reaches its peak at the very top of the tongue there, and there's this great marriage of like some of the fruity notes and some of the woody notes I talked about, but really all throughout just being very like infused with the grain, with the barley. Slightly soapy flavor and texture as this kind of moves towards the back of the mouth. Then it broadens out really on the back of the tongue and around the back of the throat with like this almost a drier woodiness. Like I don't know. I'm thinking like twigs or campfire wood or something. It's got this kind of hard to put your finger on, but there is there's a very subtle minerality, and there's like an earthy note throughout this. That I like as well. If these guys are saying that terroir is what they're doing and what they're emphasizing, I think this shows that well. You've got the barley, but you've also got in the manner of like a wine from Burgundy, for example. If you're talking about some of the real like Les Clos is a great example from Chablis, where they've got this ancient seabed that's under there, and you can really that comes through even though it's fermented, with the grapes are fermented, but you still got this very strong sense of like seashore, seashells, iodine, all that good stuff. You're really getting that here. This is the first time I've tried this. I don't know whether you could say, all right, well, that's characteristic to Ratheadon, or whether that's characteristic to Ireland or what. But in terms of proof of concept, if they're all like this, then that's going to give you a strong basis for comparing these and making your own assessment. But I like it. I think it's. I think it was clearly made with care. I think it was clearly made with emphasis on the raw materials, and I think that shows through. It's only 3 years and 9 months old, which is not terrifically old for a whiskey from this part of the world. A more temperate climate where the maturation occurs more gradually. But this is certainly. This tastes about as good as some of the Chichibus I've had. It's kind of in that Daft Mill zone, maybe a little bit. That's certainly a lot older. That's 12-year-old whiskey, as I recall. But yeah, the interesting thing is it doesn't really taste Irish to me, and I don't mean that in a bad way necessarily. But it's something that if you've drank a lot of like stuff like Jameson's or there's I'm trying to remember the last Irish whiskey I tried, but this is its own thing. It doesn't taste like it comes from, and here I'll embarrass myself because I don't actually know the Irish distilleries, Middleton or Cooley. I don't. Phil could tell you. Anyway, so conclusions on this. Like, what do I think? It's good. It's tasty. It's interesting. It's got great texture. Again, great raw materials. I believe I saw that the price was 70 euros. I guess I'm not bound by the malt scoring scale and the price sensitivity here. But yeah, no, at that price, I mean, if you think about what's coming out of startup distilleries from anywhere in the world, you're talking about triple digits price tags in many cases, and this is below that, and it's there's a lot that's gone into it. Clearly, they've provided the background information, which I love. It allows you to make some kind of assessment of what's actually going on here. But this is yeah, this is lovely whiskey to nose. It's lovely whiskey to taste. It's very, again, despite its youth, it's very complete, very elegant. I don't think that there it. Sometimes when you taste whiskey this young, you say, yeah, well, I see what you saw there, but this could have really used more time, or there's an awkwardness to it, or whatever. And I'm not sensing any of that here at all. So, enjoyed it. Would be a repeat customer, and I don't know what to say other than well done. This is great. So hopefully this was helpful. Let me know what you think. Do you like it? Was this a waste of your time? Happy to take constructive criticism. But in the meantime, thanks for indulging me, guys, and cheers.